everybody, and welcome. Let me say I'm
Hello.
taking comfort that I do see now the little timer in the corner of the screen and the clock. Welcome to the Chris Conley, Mr. C Dives In channel. Today, our topic is Svengoolie as the as the pending birthday of Rich Coase, the man in the hat, the man behind the character of Svengoolie, is soon to have his birthday come up on the calendar. Previously, a year ago, so this is kind of our second annual episode, but the first was on the Fanboy Cantina channel, as you see Fanboy G right there. And so this year, second annual, but on the other channel, as our channels are closely related, we thought let's get somebody who may possibly definitely know more about Sven than us. So here we have, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, here is Dave, known as Terror Dave. Dave, welcome to the channel.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Glad to be here.
In the history of our, we should make a top 10 of bumbling moments. Included in a previous Migo episode, the Migo guys kept falling over. There was a time where we ended the show at the 4-minute mark without meaning to, and similar to that, just now we thought we were recording, but I hadn't correctly hit the right record button. So here we are, take 2 for us, but take 1 for everybody else. So
with that, Mr. C, should we dive right in?
Let's dive right in, and let me just throw this, and then we'll kick it right to you, G, to start with the questions with Dave. On that episode we did on March 5th of 2022 on your channel, the Fanboy Cantina channel, came to pass as I was pulling images from various places, and of course giving credit to the images. There was at least one photo of the store that's now closed as Horribles, and then that we put on the screen credit to Terror Dave, who took the picture. And so it took me a while to connect the dots. We had a year ago credited Terror Dave for his photo, and now here we have Terror Dave with us. Great to make the connections.
All right. Yeah, if you see pictures of Svengoolie, there's like a 95% chance, or in a Svengoolie appearance, there's a 95% chance that the picture was probably taken by me, because I have literally been to over 100 Svengoolie appearances in the last 20 years.
That's amazing.
We're not even approaching, like we caught him at Fantasy Costumes, we've caught him at C2E2 and some different things, but that speaks well of your commitment and your investment.
It speaks well of Rich Coase. There's no restraining order against me yet at this point. So yeah.
Awesome.
All right, Fanboy G, take us away.
Well, so Dave, if we could just to start us off, well, Mr. C, thanks for having us here, having me here, and we've talked about our love of Svengoolie before, Son of Svengoolie before. But Terror Dave, or Dave, tell us about your earliest memory of Svengoolie.
Well, I was fortunate because my parents were Jerry G. Bishop's Svengoolie fans. In fact, the story goes that when my mother went into labor with me that Saturday night, my father was in the waiting room with a bunch of other expectant fathers. That was before they were allowed in the delivery room, watching Jerry G. Svengoolie. I was too young, obviously, then to have watched him myself. But I do remember my family at the kitchen table having read an entertainment article in the newspaper about the Son of Svengoolie show and mentioning to me how, they were really excited to see this show come on and that I would love it because they knew that I was a monster kid. So they were like, oh, this will be right up your alley, Dave. And sure enough, it was.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Right from the beginning. Go ahead, G.
No. Just right from the beginning, from birth.
Yeah, I was very lucky. It was right from the beginning. It was love at first sight, and I did watch him the entire Son of Svengoolie tenure. I did catch that. Not so the second time he came on, which we'll get into later, but definitely for that time.
If my parents had watched Jerry G. Bishop as the original Sven on the Screaming Yellow Theater, it might have happened, but it's definitely unbeknownst to me and lost to time. So that's the A, that it happened, and B, that you have a direct lineage or recorded oral history of it. That's real good.
Right, and C, that they were both capable of being that cool. My parents were
That's
really
right.
not,
Absolutely.
but that was
So
cool.
then I can follow up to G's question as a viewer. What are your earliest memories of watching Rich
I
Goes
l-
as Son of Svengoolie?
Sure, I loved the parody songs was always my favorite aspect of the show. I would literally take one of those big tape recorders and record the show from my tape recorder and just listen to them all week long. And I loved those, his commercials, particularly the Dr. Rabies commercial was one of my favorite ones. That was the one that featured, he was parodying David Naughton, who was popular at the time for his musical Dr. Pepper commercials, and had also been the American Werewolf in London. So Rich had or Svengoolie had carefully, son of Svengoolie, had carefully merged those two aspects of that actor successfully in this hilarious parody commercial where he slowly transforms into a werewolf as he is singing about the soda. And actually, it was kind of cool because years later, I got to meet David Naughton and show him that clip, and
Oh,
he signed he actually signed something for Svengoolie that said I drank Dr. Rabies too or something like that. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, so that was one of my favorite things. I loved his he did a parody song of from Dolly Parton's 9 to 5, which was eating folks alive to the movie Deadly Mantis he was presenting. And I remember there's a lyric in there about him about the mantis, him hoping the mantis will eat the Brady Bunch. And of course, if you remember the 70s, we all knew those shows by heart by the time we were 10 years old, and definitely could get on board with them being eaten by a deadly mantis. So yeah, I loved everything about the show. I loved the local humor, vampire carpets, because we all knew that Empire Carpet Man was on all the time. So just seeing stuff like that was great. And I collected Wacky Packages cards. I don't know if you remember those back in
oh,
the
of course.
70s. And so seeing Son of Svengoolie was really like catching a live rendition of a Wacky Packages card. So he was definitely, his humor was in line with mine.
Overlap in the sensibilities, also right there with Mad Magazine, another staple of the era. A lot of convergence of good stuff coming together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're taking me back on the nostalgia. I remember I did the same thing of getting the tape recorder, putting it up to the TV or whatever, and
What I wouldn't do for those tapes.
right?
Yeah.
And
Oh man.
again, I recently read a historical piece in Scary Monsters magazine, issue 114. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what Dave, in as a article writer, as a reporter. I'm like, oh my god, that's just like wow. I wonder how many of us youngsters were out there pushing the little cassette recorder next to as close to the speaker as could be because it was so funny, because it was so good.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's so amazing about social media and YouTube and the communities that are now formed because, we realize that we weren't alone in our experiences, that we were all friends, we just didn't know each other, that kind of a thing. We have such shared experiences with that show. Absolutely.
That's amazing. So with that story of the Dr. Pepper piece or the 9 to 5 piece, was that the particular comedy segment or bit that really drew you in, or was there another comedy segment? What?
No, I was drawn in pretty much from the get-go. I
Yeah.
really was. I mean, I know it probably sounds like it doesn't sound like it makes sense, but it's true. From the get-go, I thought he was fantastic. And
Mhm.
but again, his parody commercials, Transfusion Punch was another one that I really enjoyed. He did one on I think it was the Roach Hotel, and I remember there was like a funny line because he would talk real fast at the end, and he'd be like, "The Roach Hotel will get rid of blah blah blah," and he showed like clips of all the pests, and then one clip you see like Grandma and Grandpa, like in the picture, like it gets rid of those pests too. It was funny. Yeah, he really his sense of humor totally in
That's
line
amazing.
with mine too.
Clearly, we could zero in on any one of these and give them an expanded feature, but just to draw off of the menu of gems that you've already given us, the David Naughton thing. So, following an actor's career progression. So, David Naughton, here he is, he's able to get hired as a commercial, as a pitch man. Time passes, he's able to get hired in a in a feature horror picture. Was it Werewolves of London or was it
American Werewolf in London,
American Werewolf in London?
which I think, if I'm not mistaken, ended up costing his gig with Dr. Pepper because I don't know if he was naked in the movie or there was some issue with that, with his performance or the content of that movie that I think it ended up costing him that job, if I'm not mistaken. But
See, here we go. Advanced level knowledge, courtesy
yeah,
of our guest.
or maybe just has attended one too many horror convention. Probably that.
But again, just for Sven's piecing together the comedy bit, like how often are you going to get that opportunity? Well, here's the guy drinking the Dr. Pepper. Now he goes werewolf. So let me turn the parody song into Dr. Rabies. That's
Right.
just the inner workings of the mind of Rich Coase. It's good stuff.
And might I add, he even before Weird Al Yankovic parodied Michael Jackson's "Beat It" to "Eat It," uh, Rich Coase had made a parody song, a food-based parody song off that movie too, called "Reheat It," and that predated Weird Al. So
Wow.
yeah, he was definitely a man ahead of his time when it came to being a parody performer.
Absolutely, absolutely. So clearly, a lot of the bits, and I'll just say quickly for me. I remember, the some of the rock songs. So there was commercial stuff, and there were also like I remember the Police. That I can't remember the lyrics, but just when he parodied "Everything She Does Is Magic," that just really. I listened to that on the recording over and over.
Yeah,
And
every little thing she does is tragic, I think is how he
yes,
parodied it. Yeah, I
yes.
remember that.
See, so yeah, all of it,
I
all of
think
it.
that was the Wasp Woman, if I'm not mistaken. I don't
Well,
know.
so in perfect
Wow.
transition. Speaking of the movies, from those
Yeah.
younger years,
Mhm.
was there, and clearly, as you just mentioned, very early on, you were looking at monster movies. Uh,
Yeah, I personally, I know a lot of people are big Universal monster fans. I do like those movies, particularly The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Truthfully, as a kid, I much preferred the 1950s atomic monsters and alien invasion films. So that explains why Deadly Mantis stands out in my head because I love those giant bug movies so much.
a great subgenre within
Yeah, absolutely.
the wider cast category of horror
Yeah,
pictures.
that one and The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms was one of my favorites that he showed too. I loved all those movies. And Godzilla, of course.
And which is interesting because tonight, not Godzilla himself, but on Sven's actual Saturday night MeTV broadcast tonight, it's War of the Gargantuas, which is
Right.
the Toho Studios, if I'm not wrong, but definitely Japan produced kaiju giant monsters battling each other, guys in suits, pre CGI, real good stuff.
Yeah, that's Toho Studios, and originally it was supposed to feature. They had a giant. I don't know if you're aware, but Toho Studios actually had a giant-sized Frankenstein who appeared in a
Oh
movie, and I
wow.
think he was supposed to actually be one of the fighters in that film. But for whatever reason, they ended up with the two Gargantuas. I can't remember Svengoolie, which print Svengoolie has. There was an American version of that movie where one of the Gargantuas actually eats a woman and spits out her dress. That was the American version. I don't know if that's going to show up tonight. But that's one of the interesting facts about that film that stands out to me.
I have been to the. It's not Toho, actually, I'm not sure if it's all the same. But Toei in Kyoto, Japan, has a theme park, and there's I think they stopped doing this, but there's like it's like this Japanese kind of set, ancient Japan kind of set, and there's a pond, and then out of nowhere comes Godzilla. It just comes,
That's awesome.
comes right out
Yeah,
of
my
the water.
sons are grown up and still adore Godzilla. I've taken them to G-Fest in Chicago, which is the Godzilla festival, the last 20 years, and they have entire shrines dedicated to Godzilla still to this day. So they
That's
never
great.
outgrew it. Yeah. So they would really love to have seen where you were at.
Gee,
So
and
Mr. C, go ahead.
I don't think I knew that story. If you can give me 1 second, I'll pitch the question.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
What? I'll be here. I'll be. Yeah.
So
Oh, and I hit my head in the
talk amongst yourselves while.
the furnace kicked on, so I just went to go shut the door to the laundry room or the furnace room. I
That's all
probably
right.
should have done that before we got going, but again, we're amateurs,
It's all
we're
fine.
hobbyists, we're
It's
not
all
pros.
fine.
That's how we do
Allow me
business.
to do
This
a little
really is
product
coffee in here.
placement.
Oh, hey.
Mhm.
There it is. There it is. Perfect. All right, Dave. So in the early years, during the WFLD, during the Channel 32 era, prior to the revival on Channel 26, prior to the going nationwide, for the supporting cast of Sven, did you have a favorite character or what else besides the bits? What else was interesting to you? Like how
You talking about in the Son of Svengoolie era
in the Son of
specifically?
Svengoolie era, like how attached to Tombstone were you, or
Tombstone,
were there
yeah.
other?
I love Tombstone. Yeah, absolutely. So Tombstone was definitely a Tombstone person back in the day. He was definitely my favorite. And of course, you have to love Doug Scharf for being, or Doug Graves for his being there during the parody songs. So naturally, we have to like him as well. I did actually finally meet him. It was funny because I had had a goatee at the time, and my goatee grows in white. So I remember telling him how much I appreciated him as a kid, and he was like, "You weren't a kid when I was." I didn't believe that I was a kid in the '70s, which was kind of sad, but kind of hurt
Well,
my ego a little bit. But other than that, he was really cool.
see, so there's kind of the live other people, and right there were other. I don't want to say bit players, but let me say supporting cast people doing the Hawaiian Punch bit, and clearly, Sven wasn't always solo. He'd interact with other human beings that were on his team also. But yeah, so you kind of had it was a good mix of you had a prop character as well as live characters.
Yep, absolutely. And he knew how to use them to their, the fullest comedy potential. That's where I give him credit for that.
As a coach, he got the talents out of his players on the field, or as a director, he got the talents out of his
Definitely.
players.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Dave, if you could speak to it, maybe a little bit of a controversial topic. Summer of '82,
I think I know where
we
this is
go to
going.
7-Eleven. We go to 7-Eleven. I get my Slurpee, I get my glasses, and go home. And then it's a big event, and it is what it is. So for myself as a Chicagoan, as a kid, I've moved on with my life. I've moved on, and I think it's a funny actually now, but I don't know your memories of that summer.
Look, I got to be honest with you. I did not even know there was controversy till I was an adult. At the
Yeah,
time when that show aired, I was probably like 10 or 11. And when did you say it aired again? Was it 82 or
I
81?
think 82 or so.
82.
I was
Or
Summer.
11 years old then. I just remember that there was a lot of anticipation
yeah,
that week, and I was very concerned that I was not going to have the glasses. So that was causing me a lot of stress that week. And then I will never forget, they were selling them at 7-Eleven, but in Chicagoland, they were also selling them at Dominic's, which was like a grocery store.
yeah.
And I do remember that morning, the morning of the show, my mom walking into the house with a bag full of groceries from Dominic's and pulling the glasses out, and we're all just cheering. We're so happy. And she actually bought extra so that my friends could come over.
Nice.
And so the night that the show aired, we had she laid blankets out on the floor, she popped popcorn, she made whipped beer floats. It was like an event. I mean, it was as close to a Super Bowl as a non-sports person like me is ever going to have. And we had a great time. Now,
Yeah.
were we fighting with the rabbit ear antennas? Yes. Were we battling it out behind the television every 2 seconds to get the right picture? Yes. But we did that every week back then. And quite honestly, not only just with UHF stations, our TV was so bad. We were doing that
Yeah.
with Channel 2, the Chicago CBS affiliate.
Yep.
And I do remember only really seeing the 3D maybe once. It was like an aquarium scene. I
Same.
think I saw one of the fish,
Same.
but I never thought of it as a negative experience because it was such a fun event until I later in life when I heard about all the controversy. I think somebody even tried suing for the price of the 50-cent glasses or something. And
My goodness.
I can't imagine getting that upset about something like that, but the world is what it is. Thank God there wasn't social media back then.
Oh
But
man.
poor Rich. But yeah, so I don't have any bad feelings about that. I really don't. It was all positive for me. I'm happy to say.
Yeah. No, it's really weird. It's really weird. Yeah, and you're right. I think for me, it's also as an adult that I learned maybe through looking at on Google and stuff that the people got bent about this.
Very, yeah. which surprised me. I just was like, oh, wow. Well, first of all, you got to remember, back then, I'm thinking I'm one of the only people watching the show. You don't know there's other fans out there. So just the fact that it created this kind of a brouhaha is pretty amazing to me. But yeah,
Yeah.
no hard feelings on my part. It was a great time.
Mr. C, I got the glasses at the 7-Eleven by your house back in the
Right.
day. They had them.
I want those glasses. I'm so mad I don't have those
Right.
still.
That
I
would
don't know
be
if you ever heard of Warner Houston, who does one of the Facebook pages. He's got a huge collection of horror host stuff, and he was showing me the glasses when they were filming the Uncrypted, and I was just drooling. I want those. That's the one collectible I wish I had. I really wish I had those glasses.
you never know. White whale. Some people refer to them as white whales. Some people refer to them as
Right.
You never know what may be in the future. Day that may yet come
Right.
to you.
To me, they're goggles of glee. So yeah, I'll have mine.
When we did our last year episode, I remember I had a different set of 3D glasses that were not the historical ones, and I put them on just for a little time. And I hang on, I gotta take these off because felt the little brain scramble from the blue lens, red lens. But that's all good.
I was at a Svengoolie appearance where a fan actually brought the full page newspaper promotion for that show and had him sign it, which was really cool.
The
That's
actual
amazing.
paper physical.
Yeah, the
I've
actual
seen it
newspaper,
online,
and it
but
was a full page ad with the
It
creature
was a
from the
big
Black
deal.
Lagoon wearing the glasses. Yeah, that was cool.
That's amazing.
and again, as we've often said, like kind of to co-host or to have channels together, this is just the same conversation we were having on the grade school playground, but now here in current times in a different format. So again, the fact that you have those very clear visual, sensory memories, the experience that it takes you back to, and that's a lot of what we talk about on both channels is just, hey, this was kind of cool growing up, and it's a treasured memory to have now as we are the age we are.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, so then Dave, a couple of years, not literally a couple of years, shortly thereafter, somebody in the upper echelons of Channel 32 who
Well, it was Fox, actually. Fox had
Okay.
taken over. Remember, Fox swallowed up a bunch of local stations, and they swallowed up WFLD, and they didn't feel the need to have a horror host, so that they're the ones that are responsible.
And at that time, what was your reaction to that event or to that cancellation?
It was the only thing I think that saved me was I was a teenager at that point. So, when you're a teenager, you've got a lot of other things on your mind, kind of a thing. But it was pretty shocking. I do remember. I think it was funny too, though, because he'd actually performed a song about being canceled, which was hilarious. And that's a theme with him about how he can take a negative and turn it into something funny or positive. But I do remember him singing the cancellation song. I'm thinking he's taking it way better than I am, But it was it was pretty shocking. Yeah, unfortunate.
I've watched that clip and I've admired his composure because it'd been easier just to minimize your amount of time on camera then, but he was poking fun at everything and then able to still come up with a really clever. It was a bit of Ray Charles thing too. He's sitting at the piano, moving around in a Ray Charles like way with the supporting cast on the other side of the piano.
And to that point, let me bring up, since you were talking about the Revenge of the Creature, when he aired that film again back when he was fully with Svengoolie in the early 2000s, when he got to show that episode again, he actually did a really hilarious bit in the beginning of the show where he talked about the controversy he had back in the day showing it. And he told viewers, he said, this time, he goes, I've learned my lesson. This time, I'm going to show you this film in fabulous 2D. Are you ready? And with that, he opened the coffin and there's a cardboard cutout of him. It was so funny. But again, that's how he is. He can take a negative and turn it into a positive or a laugh.
A lesson for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's Svengoolie, and then there's Rich Coase, the man behind the man in the hat. After that cancellation, after what happened, did you follow Rich on his other appearances, other venues? Or?
I did watch the Co-Zone whenever I was able to. It came on, weekdays, so I wasn't able to keep up with it a lot, but I did catch it whenever I could. and he did bring out the Svengoolie character, son of Svengoolie character, like on Halloween. You'd see him like on the
Oh, I
news
don't remember
affiliate.
that.
Yeah, he would just kind of appear like on the news sometimes, the morning news, the Fox News.
Right.
Um, but I actually have a piece of Cozone history right here. I'm going to show it to you.
Huh.
This plaque, I don't know if you can get a full picture.
Here, let me. I don't know if
Oh.
I can either, but let me.
Oh
Okay.
my
This is
goodness.
just
No,
me,
that's
but let
just
me get
you.
me out of the
Okay.
way.
Okay, so
So close.
this
Okay,
plaque
there you go.
actually hung in the back of the set of the Cozone.
That's amazing.
And I was with him at a fundraiser, and I walked him out to his car, and he pulled this out of his trunk, and he said, "Here, I want you to have this." It hung on the back of the Cozone. So this
Wow.
chicken, obviously, it's green, not the usual yellow, but it was kind of a subtle homage to his son of Svengoolie days when he was
That
on the
is
Cozone.
great.
Yeah. So
And
now
so
he's
it's an actual rubber chicken, or it was made
yeah,
out
it's
of
actually it's a rubber chicken, but there's something it's filled with something because it's hard. I never asked him how he made it, but it is an actual rubber chicken that's been kind of hardened and is hanging on the plaque.
That's
And then he
classic. That's
signed it.
priceless.
And then he
Wow.
signed it. Yeah, you can see he signed it while it was on the hood of his car. I'm like, well, you might as
Oh,
well sign it. So yeah, that was pretty
All right, so let's just mark that as another potential thread to follow. You know, again, Sven's a busy guy; he's got a lot of stuff going on. But that, I just as you say that, the curiosity comes in my mind. How did he do it? And as we can see in the wider shot, I have the regular chicken and the glow in the dark rubber chicken just behind me.
yeah. I've got a
upside down.
studio used one behind me here too.
Oh,
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
see, we went to the right guy. We went to the right
that's right.
guy.
That's right.
Even behind me, I don't know if you could see that picture behind me. He
Here,
drew
let
that
me go
picture
back
of
to the
me and
other
him.
shot.
No
Yeah.
kidding. Really?
Yeah, he actually drew that photo. Svengoolie is actually, or Rich Coe is a very talented cartoonist. And I think he
That's
got my
amazing. Yeah, yeah,
melon
right
head
there, right
quite
there.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was very nice of him too. He's been very generous to me, very kind to me. And we'll get into, I'm sure, further on in this
Yeah.
conversation.
No question. No question.
Yeah, Mr. C, I'll draw a sketch of you at some point. It won't be the same.
Great,
Anyway,
good. Looking forward to it. And I'll say my interaction at that time, and again, just full disclosure, you know, in setting up and then conversing, Dave and I have emailed a decent amount of time since I said, "Hey, can we speak about Sven?" So this story I've already via email mentioned, but the New Year's Eve 1988 in Chicago, for whatever, not the New York ball drop, but the countdown. So the countdown New Year's Eve, Rich through Fox Channel 32 was hosting. I forget if he had a co-host or not, but it was a chilly night out there, converting from 87 to 88, and so it was. But that was when there was no Sven. I was still having the fortune to interact with or be around a Rich Coe's related event, so that was pretty cool.
Very cool.
Mhm.
All right. So you followed Cozone. When Sven
And
came
then
back,
I dropped the ball big time. He came back on the air in '95. I did not know he was back on the air till 2003, and that is a sad truth. During which time I was getting married, having children, and just living life, you know. And one Saturday, he was on at that point in time in 2003. He was on at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. That's when his show came on. And I was channel surfing looking for something for my son to watch when I happened to land on him. And I have never, I've always doubted the validity of people fainting. I was like, how does that work? How do people faint? Let me tell you, I came really close to finding out because I remember the room literally spinning and me having to sit down completely dizzy and winded. I could not believe it. I mean, he looked different, but you knew it was him. There's no denying the voice. And I I just was like suddenly getting nailed with all these memories that I had somehow suppressed or forgotten all about. It just came to the forefront all at once. And it was pretty overwhelming. And then from that moment on, um, I never missed a show after
Mm,
that, or at least I taped it if I had to, that kind of a thing.
mm.
So yeah, I was late. I was late to the Svengoolie table. I missed a lot of shows. The one good thing that I was able to catch up on, I don't know if you remember this, but when he was on WCIU channel, and MeTV was just kind of like this new sister channel, he had first gotten the rights to the Universal films, I think it was around 2007. And I don't think people realize that when he gets these films, he has to show them on their timetable. Like they're going to tell him how often he can show it and when.
Huh.
So at the time, included in that package was the Abbott and Costello Meets movies. And he had to show them. He showed them consecutively, and then maybe with just a couple weeks in between, he had to re-show them. And that made a lot of people upset because they were like, we're sick of this, da, da, da. You know, they were kind of giving him a lot of grief about it. And so what he ended up doing was he used the MeTV sister network to air older episodes Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. every night. Time those Abbott and Costello films were airing. So I got to catch up on a lot of movies I missed. But it's another great example of just how he is, how he cares about what people think, and how he tries to accommodate and take a negative and turn it into a positive.
That's an amazing story. I had no idea. That's an amazing. I mean, it shows that his savvy, really, of how to
Absolutely.
navigate.
Absolutely. And
Hmm.
like I said, I was so happy because I got to catch up. I needed to catch up. So that was a really great time.
And just for people that don't know, the current system is there's a premiere episode on a Saturday night, and then the following week locally for us, one week after the fact, there's like the repeater in case you missed it, you can catch it again. So over time, he's changed his system, and again, adapting to current at the time conditions. So again,
Right.
flexibility and adaptability. If you're going to play the same character for 40 years plus, on and off, got to have some flexibility along with your creativity.
Absolutely. But yeah, he is on their timetable. I will say though, because some people do complain about about reruns a lot. You'll see it on social media. Truthfully, he doesn't show the same movie twice in a calendar year. That is a fact. And also, the male segment is always new. They never rerun the male segment. He's only reran a male segment one time, and that was before he went national. He was able to air an HD presentation of The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds.
Mm.
That one, because they had to tape HD, they did keep that male segment when it re-aired, and I know because I was in it. But yeah, because I had I had met Tippi Hedren, and I actually got her to film a promo for him.
Oh.
I had brought her a fake crow, and she was
Oh.
like, watch Svengoolie. How do I know Svengoolie is so great? And she looks at the bird and goes, a little bird told me. So I filmed that little bumper, and he showed it in his presentation. But
That's amazing.
yeah, so